When I bought my house at a 2% mortgage rate, I felt this pain in the pit of my stomach every day. And I was like, I can't believe I do this to people for a living. And now rates are 6%, and I'm doing this to people on a daily basis. And it's like when you go to the store and you're about to buy a TV, a car, and you're like, maybe I made a mistake. What I want to convey in these next few minutes is giving you the opportunity so that you don't feel anxious, you're not losing sleep. And if you are at that point in your life where you have to make the transition from living in mom's basement, living in a spare bedroom, living in a garage, or renting to home ownership, let's see if over these next few minutes we can help bridge that gap so that when you do go into escrow and you are under contract, it's not a feeling of anxiety and despair, but instead a feeling of joy and excitement. The first jump, right, is like figuring out whether you can afford the monthly mortgage. I think that's the most important thing. If you're gonna take anything from this video, it's can what I pay for rent accommodate for what I pay for mortgage? Meaning if my rent, the average rent right now in the US is $1,900, and my mortgage on average right now about for a $400,000 mortgage is $2,600 to $2,700, is that $800 to $900 gap, is that worth it? And is that something I can afford? Renting is cheaper than buying a house right now. The people who own the brokerage where I hang my license are gonna be really upset about this, and realtors are gonna hate me and they're gonna leave me nasty comments. But that's the reality. It's more expensive to own than it is to rent. So like, why should you buy, right? Like, why should you take that extra $600, $700, $800, $900 and put it into a house? Whether already you've made a decision to say, I'm gonna keep renting or I'm gonna buy a house, let's talk about something that's pretty insane. On average, it took 2 to 3 times your yearly salary to be able to afford a house, right? Well, right now, if the average home is listed at $410,000 and the average salary is about $79,000, it takes about 5 to 6 years of just like your salary, not getting taxed, not paying benefits, nothing, just going towards your house. It almost doesn't even make sense, right? Like if you're making 80 grand a year and you're head of household, your wife doesn't work, your husband doesn't work, and you're gonna buy a $400,000 house, you're gonna be pretty broke. You're gonna be living paycheck to paycheck. That extra 700, 800 probably is better used for something else, and you're probably better off renting. But that's not the position for a lot of people. But for the people who aren't in that exact situation, right, you gotta look at that $700, $800, $900 as an investment towards the next step, because eventually that mortgage payment's gonna continue to dip as rents continue to rise. I'm mind boggled. Like I live in an area where the average home costs close to $1 million. You're not gonna qualify with $80,000 a month. I actually look at my neighbors and I'm like, how do you guys afford your houses? Because you didn't move in when rates were 2%. One of the big things that's never talked about is the people who own all of the building and construction of new homes. It's new home builders. They don't have a monopoly, but just like the auto manufacturers, right? An average Joe's not gonna go build a car and sell it. You know, you're gonna buy from Ford, you're gonna buy from Honda, you're gonna buy from Toyota, you're gonna buy from these institutions that own the auto market. It's the same thing with home building. It is very rare that a individual goes and buys lot, gets all the permitting, does everything that's needed, and then builds. By the time that's done, they've lost money. They could go buy a spec home and they'll make more money, or go buy a house that's already established and flip it. So who owns it, right? Lennar, Pulte, D.R. Horton, the builders, they own this. They are Ford, they are Chevy, they are Dodge. And right now they're sitting on 2 million empty lots to help build housing. But you know what they don't do? They don't build affordable housing. They don't build what's a first-time homebuyer home, because they're looking at their margins, how much money they're gonna make off of the sale of every home. Well, if they build a 1,400 square foot home, it's not that much more to make that into a 2,100 or 3,000 square foot home. So why would they build this $300,000 house for 1,400 square feet when they can build a 3,000 square foot house, sell it for 700 and make an extra 200? It's about the margin. And the builders aren't incentivized to go and build this type of home, this smaller house. They're incentivized to go build the bigger house. And because of that, the cost of housing is starting to come up because the size of the houses in the suburbs are just getting ridiculous now. But that leaves you, the person making $80,000 a year, hoping to get their starter home because you just finished paying off your student loans, that leaves you on the sideline. And so if starter homes aren't being built, right, and you're renting for $1,900, but you have the extra $900 a month, one of the big questions, right, is where do I go put my money? Do I put it in real estate or do I put it in the stock market? The S&P on average has gained between 6 and 8%. These last 4 years have been astronomical, over 10% gains. You had insane growth in asset prices, but not just the stock market, it also happened in housing. Housing tends to be used as a hedge against inflation because as the cost of everything goes up, the value of the houses go up. But if your goals aren't aligned with investing in housing because it's just too expensive to get through the front door, then yeah, go invest in the S&P 500. You can open a Robinhood account. This isn't financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. But you go open up a Robinhood account, you drop $1,000 a month into the S&P, and that compounds over time. And eventually it'll probably, just because of how compounding works, it'll probably outperform the value that you're going to gain from your house. That's just the reality. The important part about why you invest in housing is you make money quicker, because as a $500,000 asset increases in value by 10%, 50,000, right? If you got in with 50,000, you just doubled your money in a year. Versus if you're doing $1,000 a month, it's going to take you a while to get to that position. But eventually compounding interest will catch up. So if you're in a position where you're investing in the market, you're saving money, you have good credit, and life puts you in a position where you have to buy a house. Like when I bought my house, it was because I got my partner pregnant, we were having a little girl, and I wasn't going to live in downtown LA with a little baby. So I moved to the suburbs. I don't care how much the S&P was going to pay me back. My daughter living in a place where she can walk outside and there wasn't going to be homeless people or needles on the ground was significantly more important. So even though you can position this as a logical decision, there are times where it has to be emotional because it's based on family. It's based on the different components of your life. So when you are in that position and you're like, okay, well, that's cool, I got to buy a house, but can I afford it? It's a very simple equation. First, you got to find how much the payment is on the house that you're looking for. So if you're looking for a $600,000 house on an FHA loan at like 5.875 in California, with California tax rates, you're anywhere between $4,000 to $4,500 a month. Let's just say that your rent is $3,000 a month. For 6 months, you have to be able to put the delta away. So if your payment's going to be $4,500, your rent's $3,000, right? $4,500 minus $3,000, $1,500. If you can put those $1,500 away for 6 months and your lifestyle doesn't adjust, then you're ready to buy a house and take on that mortgage payment. And that feeling, that anxiety we talked about in the beginning, you're not going to feel it. You know why you're not going to feel it? Because you know that you're financially ready to take the next step. Now, if you want to take it further, what you do to prep is you start monitoring your credit, you start paying off all the little credit cards, and you start getting rid of them so that you're not having to make that extra expense every month. And then you move on to the bigger ones and bigger ones and bigger ones. And now what you're doing is you're improving your cash flow every month. So that if you were paying $3,000 a month in rent, but you're paying $1,500 a month in credit cards, and all of a sudden you have 0 credit cards, you now have an extra $1,500 a month that you can leverage towards investing in your house. And if you do that and you're still able to put away money, you're in a phenomenal position to be able to go forward and take it to the next step, which is home ownership. But here's some things to really pay attention to. Even if all of those things work in your favor, you're saving, you're putting money in your bank account, and you're paying off your credit cards, but let's just say that you're going to relocate in a year. Don't buy a house. It's not worth it. You're going to lose money when you go sell it because of the cost of selling a house, anywhere between 6 to 8%. You're going to relocate in 2-3 years, I would say just stay where you're at, rent. It's not worth it because very likely you're not going to get the appreciation you need to just offset the cost of selling your house. When you're looking at locations, make sure the place you're going to live aligns with you. Like, I can't live in West LA. I would hate it. I can't live in Santa Monica. I would hate it. My values don't align with the people who live there. You got to make sure that your location aligns with the values and the people there align with who you are. And it's not political, it's reality. Live in a place where your neighbors are like you so that your kids grow up with the values that you desire. The big hedge that everyone wants to talk about and highlight is insurance. Like, if you're in a place where there's high fire zones, always change your insurance and upgrade your coverage and make sure your fire coverage is under control. If you're in Florida where there's tsunamis, make sure your insurance is going to cover potential weather damage. You got to watch that. And insurance costs continue to go up. So you have to make sure that not only can you afford the mortgage today, but you can add a couple $100 to it every single year. And so as we conclude the video, you have to take all of this into consideration. Let this decision be well thought out. Just because your wife sent you a house with a pool that she found on Zillow, don't go buy that house just because they want it. Do it because it's the right time. Do it because you're financially ready. Do it because you've already lived a life as if you were paying that mortgage payment. When you go make that next step, do it because you know that when you're in that process, you're not going to be living in a constant state of anxiety. And if you need the help to get you to that position, my Calendly's in my bio. Book a call and let's get you to the position to where you need to be so that you can either buy a house now, buy it later, or completely scrap it off the table. And so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so we can keep this channel growing. We're trying to get to our first 1,000 followers and subscribers. So I need your help. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.